Welcome to another edition of Wings Weekly, brought to you by Qdoba. I'm Jay Kleinknecht, and today joining me, assistant coach Mike Gratton, as we will recap the weekend that was, but then also we're going to look into the future a little bit and talk about some of the tendered players and how the tendering process works. Coach, I appreciate you taking some time to come up and talk with me here. First of all, let's start with the Bruins. Both Friday and Saturday night, Wings end up with a 3-2 loss, or an overtime loss, excuse me, in Austin on Friday night. A game that really felt like you guys were on the driver's wheel, or at the driver's wheel for a good part of it, but in the third they were able to come back and put one in, and then ended up going to overtime, and they ended up, of course, winning. So you guys get a point. There's a positive there, but certainly it would have been nice to come away with two on that one. What were your thoughts overall from Friday night's game?
Well, I thought, Jay, that Friday night was a good road game overall. We managed the puck. We took care of it. I don't know if we were in control for the whole game, but there were stretches where we had pretty good control of the game and never really got out of hand. Zone time or possession time was pretty even throughout the night. The momentum swings in the game were muted. There was no real domination by one team or the other in the other team's end, and so they never really got to build a lot of momentum, which they do really well in their building. Yeah. I think they do really well everywhere, but they do really well in their building at it. So we managed that really well, I thought. And then in the third period, when they needed the goal to tie it up, they were pushing. Mm-hmm. And we had a couple of odd man situations that we didn't score on. One in particular, I think it was Rue and Leitner had the 2-on-1. They made a great play. I think Leitner had a lot of net after his move, but he shot early and just kind of missed it wide. I think within the next few shifts, they tied the game. Mm-hmm. And then anything can happen once that happens, and they ended up scoring in overtime after we had a power play. Right. So the theme of Friday was really, I think, some missed opportunities for us, especially on the power play. We did get a power play goal, but your power play, to be good, it also has to be timely. It
Right.
has to score the one at the beginning of the third or the one in overtime to kill the opposition, and we didn't quite get that done.
Well, a lot of penalties in that game, and ended up being 1 of 7. And again, some good opportunities, good looks, but just unable to bring them home. And you mentioned it. Austin's a good team. They, Coach Anzalone and I talked about this pregame, that they're not only they have the speed that Brookings has, but they also have the size and that some of the other teams like Minot, Bismarck, kind of an interesting mix, I guess. So they create some challenges to play as a whole anyway. But then when they do build momentum, it's difficult to kind of stop the avalanche, so to speak, if you excuse the expression. But overall, I thought an exciting game, and some certainly some highlights and bright spots to bring into Saturdays. And then on Saturdays, it just felt like the first period just started a little flat, and they came out with guns blazing, which is, I think, something that the coaching staff kind of expected of them in listening to Coach Anzalone talk to some of the coaches, or excuse me, the players. He expected them on Saturday night in their building to come out with playing with quite a bit of pop, and that's kind of what happened. Got up early on the Saturday night game, and then things kind of settled in on the second and third. What did you see from the Saturday night matchup?
Well, similar to what you explained. We knew they would come out with a lot of jam. They're a really good starting team. They get a lot of goals in the beginning of the games, the first 5 minutes. And the first 5 minutes of a hockey game are critical, and the first 5 minutes of a period are critical. Mm-hmm. So they do a really good job of coming out hard. We expected that, but they still, they were still able to get that early lead, and then they were comfortable. And I don't feel that we really established our game on Saturday night. We didn't take care of the puck as well. We didn't do the things that we got rewarded for on Friday night. And a reward is a power play. A reward is zone time. A reward is not having to defend. If you're a hockey player, you'd rather be playing offense than defense. Right. And so we didn't take care of the puck when we had it enough offensively. We would make some low percentage, high plays that actually turned out to be a breakout pass for our opponent. Right. And when you do that to a well balanced opponent like them, you're just giving them things, and they're going to take enough. But because they're good, they're going to take enough. You don't want to be in the business of giving them anything. So we got them started in the first period a few times, and they didn't make it easy on us the rest of the way. Yeah. And then again, I saw some of the opportunities, and we were not able to convert. We had a breakaway, another couple of 2-on-1s and odd mans. Again, the power plays. We did score on the power play, but we didn't make it 3-2 on the power play where we had chances to.
Right. Okay, well, time to regroup and get ready for another quick turnaround, which is kind of, I know players they want to play the games, and like I said before, they know some of the best way to rid yourself of the stink of a swept weekend is to get back out there. And Wednesday, Wings are back in action against Brookings, so we'll talk about that and some of the matchups, the home matchup, the home and home, excuse me, with Bismarck coming up in just a bit too. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Let's make a taco. No, seriously. Start with a tortilla, soft tortilla. Warm it, kiss it. Don't kiss it. Chicken? How about tequila lime chicken? Now we're cooking. Slice this, peel that, snip those. Salsa? Verde. Cheese? Cotija. Oh, forgot to mention. Guac. That's better. See, anyone can make a taco, but we're not anyone. We're Qdoba, and these are knockout tacos. Qdoba Mexican Eats. Choose flavor.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Jay Kleinknecht here, along with assistant coach Mike Gratton, the director of scouting too. Man, Coach, you've been out on the road quite a bit here this year, and some tendered players that we want to kind of talk about. But before we jump into the players individually, what is the process as a whole? Each team gets, 10 tenders to use? And can you maybe explain to the people what the tender actually is, or what that title means?
Sure. Yeah, at the beginning of the year, all of the teams in the league will be given 10 tenders. Now, they're assets, and you can trade those. So you can go into a season and have a plus or minus amount of tenders.
Sure.
3 of those tenders that you're provided are tenders that are for specific leagues. So 1 in the North American 3A in the NA3HL, 1 in the or 2 in the NAPHL, and then 7 that you can kind of use anywhere. And so that's what we're all started with. And then again, you can trade. We could trade now for a tender next year or even in an out year.
Okay.
And so that can affect your balance. But for the most part, to understand that every team starts the year with basically the same number of tenders. And a tender, really, from the perspective of the league, is it's like a draft pick, but the players sign that, and then they're your property then, for all intents and purposes.
Okay.
And they aren't able, they won't talk to other teams. So they become protected
Gotcha.
by your hockey club once a player executes that tender with your club.
Is there a deadline as to when the tenders have to be used?
Yeah, if you don't use I think it floats a little bit, but it's right before the draft. And they come out in November. So you have that space of time. And you want to use your tenders, obviously, in that space of time. And we do.
Okay. Well, let's talk about some of the players that have been tendered for next year by the Aberdeen Wings. We'll start with Grant Ledford.
Yep.
Grant's a young man out of Michigan, Jackson, Michigan.
Yep.
And what can you tell us about him?
Well, Grant's a player that we've had in our camps. We've been following him for a few years. He's a big, imposing player. He's a young man. He's a 98 birth year. He's 6'3", and he's a really heavy player, and he's a very physical player. And he creates a lot of room on the ice. So he's a player that would be complementary to some skilled players to be able to create some room. And he's developing his game. He's developing the offensive side of his game. But his play away from the puck, his physical play, his physical presence, he's a power forward, and he's a developing power forward. So we really like what we see out of Grant. Like I said, he's been in our camps, and so we had a relationship with him going into the season. We saw that he was on track to continue playing the way he plays, and he really affects the game. The other team is really interested in him, if you know what I'm saying, and he causes he brings a lot of attention to his game, the way he plays, and if he translates out at this level, he'll be a real exciting player to have.
Excellent. Okay, well, moving on, a name that's familiar to Wings fans, Leitner. How about Nick Leitner from Bemidji? That's got to be a brother to Jake, right, or not?
Yes, that's his brother. They're both from Bemidji. Both similar players in terms of their work ethic and their habits in terms of how they battle. You know, Jake is a relentless type of player. Nick is a relentless type of person, a relentless type of player. They're from a good program. They're from a good family. We know them. They've been in our camps as well. Now, Nick is a defenseman, so he's a really mobile defenseman. He's got really good size, plays physical, moves the puck. He is a defensive kind of version of similar to the way Jake plays up front.
Okay. Moving on to Cade Gleckel, a forward from Minneapolis. What can you tell us about Cade?
Cade Gleckel is another forward that we've had an ongoing kind of relationship with. He was in our camps. We watched him for the last few years. He played his first year at Benilde last year, and we were watching him. We've been following him, and he's developing really well. He was a player that, as he's been developing in high school, he's a scorer. And last season, it was a new level for him to move up in high school and play at Benilde. So his numbers really started to come on at the end of the year. So maybe he's surprising some people right now. Benilde is very well respected in Minnesota hockey. They always have been. And I think he's still leading their team in scoring right now. So he's a scorer, and he's a balanced scorer. He can shoot, but he makes passes at the right times. He shoots at the right times. And he's got a big frame to him. He's hard to get off the puck. He plays a North American League style of game, and he's successful at it.
Okay. The next player we're going to talk about, we've actually seen as an AP player. It saw some time already with the Wings, and that would be Drew Meininger, a defenseman from Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. Can you tell us a little more about Drew?
Well, Drew's another player that's been in our system for a while that we've known. He's come to our camps. We recruited him, and Coach Gordy Brown knew Drew really well and helped get him to camp. And Drew is a real tenacious defender. He's a physical player. He gets under the skin of the opposition. He's the kind of player that if you were a scorer and you go out and you see him, you're like, oh, geez, him again. And he just keeps coming at you. He keeps coming at you. He keeps coming. And I've actually liked watching him develop. His puck-moving skills and his offensive side of his game has been improving this season. But what we really like about him is his tenacious defending and how hard he can be to play against. Guys knock him down, he just gets back up. He keeps coming.
Excellent. Okay. How about Jordan Fader, a forward from Rice Lake, Wisconsin? What do we know about Jordan?
Well, we saw Jordan really this year, maybe for the first time where we saw him a lot. He was not a player that was in our camps or anything like that. So we saw Jordan playing a few times, and he also wanted to come out here and visit us. So he came out here. He practiced with us for a week. He is a real intelligent player. He's got really a good offensive IQ. He gets to the right spaces at the right times. He's a good passer. He's a good shooter. He's another balanced scorer. If the shot's the right play, he makes it. If the pass is the right play, he makes that as well. He's got good size. He's got good speed, and he's playing on a very successful team in Omaha.
Excellent. Okay. Well, the final tender that we want to talk about here today, anyway, and I'm going to try this name, but I believe it's Georgi Fedulov.
Very close. Georgi.
Georgi,
Yep.
Okay. And he's from Concord, Ontario. Coach, what can you tell us about Georgi?
Well, Georgi is he's a very skilled. He's a very skilled player. He sees the ice really well. He's a very dangerous passer. He's in the corner with the puck, and all of a sudden it's on somebody's stick. He's also a very good finisher in tight areas. He's not a big guy, but he's quick. And we saw him playing recently in Chicago. Coach Brown had seen him earlier in the year, and so a lot of our staff has seen him play, and we like what he brings. He plays for the Little Caesars program, which has a great track record of moving players up. They've done a great job of developing players over the years, and they've won a lot of games. And Coach Cirillo's had a lot of success with Caesars. So we're real happy to be able to bring a player like him in.
Excellent. All right. Well, Coach, we appreciate you taking some time to talk to us about the future Wings players and those that have been tendered, and taking some time out of your day. So again, thank you for that. I want to remind everybody that the Wings are back in action Wednesday night against the Brookings Blizzard, and then a home and home with Bismarck on Friday night up there, and then back here, home game on Saturday night. Now remember that is the Titan Machinery Dakota Cup at Bismarck Friday, and then here at the ODI Center on Saturday. Welcome back, College Students Night. Also, $2 off admission with valid college ID at the door, and skate with the Wings afterwards. So thanks for watching this week's Wings Weekly. Well, we've got a special kind of announcement coming up here now that we'd like to talk about a little bit, and that is that continued partnership with the Avera Health and the Aberdeen Wings. And I have Greg Odie, of course, the owner of the Aberdeen Wings, with me now. And Greg, it's an important part of everything that you do is the health of the players of the Wings, both on and off the ice. But what does this partnership really kind of mean?
Well, this is a long-term partnership with Avera to be our team medical services provider. And that includes medical doctor, trainer, orthopedic consultation, and treatment of the Aberdeen Wings players. And I'm just really thrilled about this. We've been in a relationship with Avera for a few years now on the training side and on the orthopedic side, and now we're just able to put it all together as a complete package with them.
Excellent. So Taryn Martin, who's been the trainer for the Wings, she'll stay on, and Dr. John Olson, they're going to be helping care for the players, as I mentioned, both on and off the ice. If there's something that happens to them, if they're ill, whatever, they can seek the best medical attention around. So that's excellent that you as an owner and as a league that they're taking care of these young men as they're off to pursue their careers and further their careers, I should say.
I'd also like to include Dr. Donald Frisco at Orthopedic Services, which is now a branch of Avera.
Okay, great.
He's been our longtime orthopedic doctor.
Excellent. Okay, well, Greg, I know you're a busy man. We won't keep you any longer, but I wanted to get that word out, and folks, look for more on that as the week progresses. But again, excellent to be able to announce the furthered and continued partnership with the Aberdeen Wings and Avera.
Yeah, and the reason that is so important is that, Jay, is that safety and the health of our players on and off the ice is a high priority of our team and the North American Hockey League. So this partnership with Avera fortifies our commitment to the health of our players.
Absolutely. So happy to make this announcement about the continued relationship with Avera.